He looks calm, unbothered, hard to read, like nothing touches him and nothing ever will. But that cold surface is not proof that he feels nothing. It is often proof that he feels too much and does not know what to do with it. That is the part most people miss. The more he acts unaffected, the more he may be fighting the fact that you matter. He is not always pulling away because he has no interest. Sometimes he pulls away because the feeling is getting too real, too close, too powerful. And his first instinct is to regain control before anyone sees what is happening inside him. And once you understand that, the whole game changes. Because then you stop chasing the mask and start seeing the fear behind it. Stay with me, because what looks like distance may actually be tension. What looks like silence may actually be conflict. And what looks like disinterest may be the exact moment attraction is getting stronger under the surface. In this script, you are going to see the triggers that can get past those walls without begging, forcing, or losing yourself in the process. Not tricks, not cheap mind games, just human patterns that make his guard feel less necessary. And by the end, you will understand why the women who affect him the most are never the ones who chase the hardest. They are the ones who know how to stay powerful, calm, rare, and impossible to forget. Avoidant men often build their identity around looking emotionally untouchable. They want to seem steady, self-contained, almost impossible to move. On the outside, it can feel like confidence, but underneath it is usually defense. They learned very early that showing too much need, too much desire, or too much attachment could leave them exposed. So they built a style of relating where distance feels safer than closeness, control feels safer than surrender, silence feels safer than honesty. That is why their strongest defense is often indifference. They do not want to look needy. They do not want to look shaken. They do not want anyone to know that another person has the power to affect their emotions. But here is the twist. That armor does not block attraction. It blocks the fear that comes with attraction. Because the moment they admit they want you, they also have to admit they can be hurt by you, influenced by you, changed by you. And that is exactly what they try to avoid. So the performance begins. They act casual. They delay. They stay vague. They minimize the connection. They tell themselves they are fine. Yet the stronger the pull becomes, the harder they try to hide it. That is the paradox. The very behavior that makes them seem emotionally closed can sometimes be a sign that the connection is getting under their skin. Watch closely. The effort to seem unaffected often reveals how deeply affected they truly are. And once you understand that pattern, everything starts to make more sense. One of the strongest things that gets through to an avoidant man is not more closeness. It is seeing that you value your own space just as much as he values his. This matters more than most people realize, because independence is not just attractive to him. It feels safe. It tells him that closeness with you will not mean suffocation. It tells him that being near you will not cost him his identity. Most women are taught to become more available, more responsive, more emotionally present when they want a man to feel secure. But with an avoidant man, too much availability too fast can feel heavy. What draws him in more is a woman with her own full life, her own plans, her own inner world, her own quiet joy that does not depend on his attention. When you genuinely enjoy your own company, when you protect your time, when you have goals that keep moving, whether he texts or not, something changes. he starts to relax. He feels less pressure. And at the same time, he becomes more curious because now you are not a person waiting around to be chosen. You are a person choosing your own life every day. That creates respect. It creates space for attraction to grow without panic. It also creates mystery. He cannot fully predict you because your world does not revolve around him. And that mystery matters. It keeps his mind engaged. It keeps him leaning in. This is not about acting distant. It is about actually having a life that feels rich with or without him. That is the energy that makes him feel that love does not have to trap him. It can actually leave him more room to breathe. Another thing that cuts through his defenses is mystery. Not fake mystery, not confusion for the sake of attention, real mystery. The kind that comes from growth, depth, and the fact that you keep unfolding. Avoidant men often love novelty, but struggle with routine emotional closeness. So when a connection becomes too predictable, too exposed, too easy to read, their excitement can drop. They stop feeling discovery and start feeling expectation. That is when they back up. But when you keep growing, when you keep surprising him with new thoughts, new interests, new layers of your personality, you stay alive in his mind. He may think he understands you, and then you say something sharp, insightful, playful, or unexpected that makes him look again. He may think he has seen all of you, and then he notices a new side he never met before. That keeps curiosity open. And curiosity is powerful with men who fear emotional demand, because curiosity lets them move closer without feeling cornered. It gives them a reason to pursue that feels exciting instead of threatening. This does not mean hiding who you are. It means not becoming static. It means staying connected to your own evolution. Learn new things. Change your opinions when life changes you. Reveal yourself in layers. Let him discover you instead of dumping your whole soul on the table at once. And here is the part people rarely say out loud. When he feels like there is still more to know, he stays engaged longer. He wants another conversation, another moment, another look. Keep watching, because this next shift may be the one that changes the whole dynamic when he starts pulling away. When an avoidant man creates distance, most people panic. They feel the silence and immediately rush toward it. They text more, explain more, push harder, try to fix the drop in energy before it becomes a real loss. But one of the most attractive things you can do in that moment is stay calm. Not cold, not passive-aggressive, calm. Because when he pulls away and finds that you are still steady, still grounded, still living your life, it interrupts his expectation. He expects pursuit. He expects emotional chaos. He expects that distance will make you lose balance and run after reassurance. So when you do not collapse, when you do not beg for closeness, when you stay centered in your own value, it has weight. He starts to question the dynamic. He starts wondering whether he misread how secure you are, how much power he really has, how replaceable or irreplaceable you might be. This is where attraction often shifts. Instead of feeling like the one being pursued, he starts feeling the possibility that he may have to move toward you if he wants to keep the connection alive. And that changes everything. Your calm becomes a mirror. It shows him that love with you does not have to become drama. It also shows him that you are not ruled by fear. That matters more than people think, because the avoidant man is often deeply suspicious of emotional instability. He watches for it. He expects it. So when you respond to uncertainty with grace, it feels rare. It feels strong. It stays with him. And sometimes your silence says more than a page of emotional messages ever could. If this is sounding familiar, keep going, because the next piece explains why effort matters more than words. A huge mistake people make with avoidant men is rewarding inconsistency. They celebrate crumbs. They overvalue small effort. They give full emotional access to someone who has barely shown up. And without meaning to, they teach him that he can invest very little and still receive a lot. That becomes the pattern. So one of the most effective shifts is this reward consistency, not crumbs. When he shows real effort, real presence, real follow-through, you open, you respond warmly, you engage, you let closeness grow. But when he gives the bare minimum, you do not act like it is something special. You do not punish. You do not perform anger. You simply stop overfeeding weak behavior. That creates a very different experience for him. Now he starts learning that deeper access to you comes through steadiness, not randomness, through respect, not convenience, through action, not vague charm. This matters because avoidant men are often used to people reacting strongly to almost nothing. A late night text, a little attention, a sudden return after distance. But when you stay measured, when your energy matches his actual investment, he feels the change. He realizes that if he wants more of you, he has to bring more of himself. And here is why this works so well. It does not feel like force. It feels like truth. It feels fair. He earns closeness through behavior that deserves trust. That is clean. That is powerful. And yes, timing matters. The way you respond in certain moments can quietly train the pattern of the whole relationship. Miss that, and you may feed the same cycle you are trying to escape. So stay with me, because the next part goes even deeper into standards, access, and why difficulty can create value. Avoidant men often respect boundaries more than they admit. They may resist them at first, they may test them, they may act like your standards are too much. But deep down, clear boundaries create shape, and shape creates tension, and tension can spark attraction. Easy access is not always exciting. Guaranteed access is not always valued. When everything is available with no effort, no standard, no self-respect attached, it loses some of its psychological weight. But when you are clear about what you accept and what you do not, when your time is not handed out like spare change, when your energy is protected, something sharpens. He feels the challenge, and challenge can wake up pursuit. The key is that your boundaries have to be real, not fake rules designed to create fake scarcity, not cold tricks. Real boundaries come from self-respect. They come from knowing what feels good, what feels safe, what feels honest, and what does not. When he senses that your standards are genuine, he takes them more seriously. He may not always like them, but he feels them. And if he is truly interested, he begins to rise toward them. That is where the shift happens. He stops seeing your attention as something automatic and starts seeing it as something valuable, something that must be handled well, something that can be lost. This is why women with quiet standards often affect avoidant men so deeply. They do not scream their value, they live it, and that energy is hard to ignore. It tells him that closeness with you is possible, but not cheap. It tells him that being in your world requires consistency. That is not cruelty, that is clarity. And clarity is often more seductive than chaos. There is another layer most people never talk about. Beneath the distance, many avoidant men still want to feel useful. They still want to feel important. They still want moments where they can step in, help, protect, guide, fix, or support without feeling trapped. That is why one quiet turn-on is letting him feel valuable in a way that does not pressure him. Not helplessness, not pretending you cannot function on your own, just allowing room for contribution, asking for his opinion when it is honest, letting him help with something practical, noticing what he is good at and appreciating it when he shows up well. This matters because it gives him a safe way to express care. Emotional language may feel risky to him. Direct vulnerability may feel hard, but action can feel manageable. Solving something, offering advice, carrying a burden for a moment, being the one who knows what to do. These experiences can let him feel close without the panic that intense emotional expectation can create. And when that contribution is met with real appreciation, not dependency, it lands even deeper. He feels capable. He feels seen. He feels that he matters in a grounded way, not in a suffocating way. That distinction is everything, because many avoidant men do not hate being needed. They hate feeling consumed. So when you create moments where he can matter without losing himself, it can open something inside him that words alone cannot touch. He starts to connect care with freedom instead of care with obligation. And once that happens, his guard may soften more than you expect. But now we need to talk about the strongest shift of all, because this next piece is the one that often changes the story forever. The ultimate thing that breaks through the wall is not pressure. It is the real chance of loss. Not dramatic threats, not emotional explosions, real loss. The moment he sees that you can walk away with dignity, something inside him has to face the truth. Because most people do not really leave. They warn, they cry, they circle back, they keep negotiating with behavior that keeps hurting them. So he learns that there is always more time, always another chance, always another round. But when you truly know your worth, when you stop asking someone to become ready at the cost of your peace, and when you leave without chaos, it hits differently. There is no screaming to dismiss, no emotional storm to label as instability, just a quiet, solid decision. A closed door. A person who loved, understood, tried, and still chose self-respect over waiting forever. That kind of exit is unforgettable, because now he cannot hide behind the story that you were too much. He has to face the harder story that you were steady, rare, generous, and still not willing to stay in a connection that could not meet you fully. This can shake him more than any argument ever could. It forces him to see that he did not lose someone ordinary. He lost someone who made closeness feel safe and still had the strength to leave when safety was not returned. That is devastating in a very quiet way. And yes, for some men, that is the moment regret begins. Not always instantly, sometimes much later. Sometimes after they meet other people and realize what they had, but when it lands hard. And this is where many women get confused. They think the goal is to make him chase. They think the point of all this is to trigger obsession, longing, pursuit, panic. But the deeper truth is different. The real power is not in making him run after you. It is in becoming the kind of woman who no longer needs to run after anyone. That is the shift that changes everything. Because once you stop building your life around being chosen, your energy gets cleaner. You stop trying to manage every mood, decode every silence, earn every breadcrumb, and carry the emotional weight of two people. You become easier to love and harder to misuse at the same time. That combination is magnetic. Avoidant men feel it. Healthy men feel it too. everyone feels the difference between a woman who is trying to be enough and a woman who already knows she is. And when you move from that place, even the way you text changes. The way you pause changes. The way you listen changes. The way you leave changes. You stop forcing clarity out of confusion. You stop shrinking your needs to keep someone comfortable. You stop calling emotional starvation chemistry. That is when the whole script gets a new look, because now the story is not about how to break his walls at any cost. It is about how to stay true to yourself while creating the kind of dynamic where his defenses no longer make sense. That is a completely different energy. And if he can meet you there, real connection has a chance. If he cannot, you still do not lose yourself. That is the win people do not talk about enough. There is also an important truth you have to hold while using any of these patterns. Not every avoidant man wants to grow. Not every distant man is secretly deep and scared. Not every silence means hidden feeling. Sometimes silence is just avoidance. Sometimes mixed signals are not pain, they are convenience. Sometimes someone enjoys the chase, the attention, the emotional access, the comfort of being wanted while having no real plan to build anything honest. That is why you cannot just study behavior. You also have to study truth. Is he honest about his patterns, or does he dodge responsibility every time the conversation gets real? Does he admit when he pulls away, or does he make you feel crazy for noticing it? Does he show effort after awareness, or does he use self-knowledge as a shield while nothing changes? This is huge, because insight without action can waste years of your life. A man can explain his wounds beautifully and still keep hurting you. He can know exactly why he withdraws and still do nothing to become safer for love. So while these triggers can create attraction, attraction alone is never enough. The real question is whether he has the courage to tell the truth about himself and the willingness to build something better. If he does, these shifts can help the connection breathe. If he does not, no amount of perfect energy on your side will turn avoidance into partnership. Let that free you. You are not here to perform miracles. You are here to recognize what is possible, what is not, and what your heart should no longer have to pay for. Now, let us go deeper into why these qualities affect him so strongly. When you value your own space, he feels less fear. When you stay mysterious, he feels more curiosity. When you stay calm, he feels less control and more interest. When you reward consistency, he feels the need to rise. When you set boundaries, he feels challenge. When you let him contribute, he feels significance. When you walk away with dignity, he feels loss. Fear, curiosity, challenge, significance, loss. These are powerful emotional forces, especially for someone who lives behind control. That is why this works better than pressure. Pressure makes him defend. These qualities make him feel. And once feeling starts moving under the surface, his usual strategy becomes less effective. He may still delay. He may still hesitate. He may still act like nothing is happening. But inside, the script is changing. He starts noticing your absence differently. He starts replaying conversations. He starts comparing the ease of shallow connections with the depth of what he had with you. He starts realizing that safe love is much rarer than he thought. And this is why women who understand themselves often leave a lasting mark on avoidant men. Not because they were perfect, not because they saved him, but because they offered something he could not easily replace. A kind of attraction that did not suffocate him. A kind of presence that did not demand performance. A kind of strength that did not turn cruel when disappointed. That combination is rare, and when it is gone, life has a way of making the contrast painfully clear. He may not admit it fast, but he feels it over time. If he loses a woman like that, the pain is often delayed. That is what makes it so strange. At first, his defenses protect him. He tells himself it was for the best. He stays distracted. He feels relief from the tension of intimacy. He enjoys the space. He goes quiet, maybe even too quiet. But later, reality starts working on him slowly. He meets people who chase too hard and it feels heavy. He meets people with no standards and it feels flat. He meets people who want closeness but do not understand his need for room. And every connection starts feeling either chaotic or empty. That is when memory becomes louder. He starts remembering the woman who gave freedom without detachment, warmth without pressure, understanding without self-abandonment. He starts realizing that she was not just emotionally available, she was emotionally intelligent. She knew when to move closer and when to step back. She knew how to hold her value without turning love into a fight. She saw through his walls without trying to smash them down. And then she left calmly, fully, with dignity. That is the part that lingers, because now the loss is not just emotional, it is educational. It teaches him what he missed. And for many avoidant men, that lesson is brutal. Not because someone punished them, because life did. Through comparison, through repetition, through the slow realization that they let go of the one connection that could have felt both deep and safe. That understanding can stay with a man for years. Sometimes it changes him. Sometimes it only haunts him. But either way, it rarely leaves him untouched. So, what should you take from all of this? Not that you need to become a puzzle, a therapist, a strategist, or a woman who spends her whole life mastering someone else's fear. No, take this instead. The traits that affect an avoidant man most deeply are also the traits that protect your own heart. Self-respect, emotional steadiness, independence, standards, depth, warmth without desperation, mystery without games, angst care without self-reavers. These are not just ways to attract him. They are ways to remain whole. And that matters because the point is never to win a connection by losing yourself inside it. The point is to create a kind of presence that reveals who is capable of meeting you and who is not. That is real power. So if he leans in, good. Let him show it in action. If he softens, good. Let him prove it over time. If he opens up, good. Let honesty and consistency carry the weight, not promises. And if he cannot meet you, let that truth arrive early instead of late. Let it save you time. Let it save you confusion. Let it save the version of you that was about to overinvest in potential. Because in the end, the woman who changes the story is not the one who chases the hardest. It is the one who understands the game, sees the fear, keeps her heart open, keeps her standards higher, and never forgets that being deeply desired means very little if you are not also deeply respected. And if you have ever wondered why the one who stays calm, rare, and real is the one he never fully forgets.